Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I'm your host, the Dividend Aristocrat, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about all my dividend income for the month of July. We'll also use my future value simulator in order to see where my portfolio might be in the next 10, 20, or even 30 years, and we'll take a look at some of my buys and maybe even sells in the portfolio. Now, if you do enjoy this type of content and appreciate the transparency, consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate it. As a reminder, this is not financial advice and I'm just merely sharing my opinions on this channel. Now, with that being said, let's start by taking a look at my portfolio dashboard. So in total, I have invested $52,520, and out of that, $17,688 were invested this year alone. Now, as you can see down here, basically, it does track every single year how much I've invested and how much I've received in dividends. And so far this year, I invested almost $18,000, which is far surpassing any of my previous years. Now, in terms of dividend income, which we'll be focusing on today, my first year, 2020, of capturing my investment performance was $12.45. Fast forward to now, we're already at $507 for the year. But going forward, we should be expecting to make about $1,100 per year. In terms of gains, my total return is sitting at 26.08%, which is almost 14,000 in unrealized gains, and the portfolio value is down substantially today. You can see in the past day, it's down over 1.5%, which is a $1,000 loss. Now, there are a couple reasons for this. Amazon did post its earnings on Thursday after the bell, and because of that, investors were not quite happy with the results. I think it was a bit of a mixed bag for them, though I am pretty happy as an investor myself. However, the main reason for the significant drop is the jobs report numbers being revised down significantly. Now, we should keep track of how this progresses and develops over the next couple of months, but in terms of prices, a 1.5% drop in the S&P 500 or in the market over one day is pretty significant. But to put that in perspective, it's about the price it was trading at last week, so not a big discount yet. My cash position is pretty low right now compared to what it was a couple months ago. We're at $4,400, and that's because I've been investing pretty heavily in the portfolio, as we talked about right here. Now, in terms of dividend earned, we've almost hit the $2,000 mark for how much dividend I've earned in the portfolio. My portfolio yield is at 1.66% or about 2.1% yield on cost. So I do get comments on this here and there, so I'll hit up on it again. But basically, the reason my portfolio yield is so low is because I'm focused on total return over anything else. Now, what I believe is a great way to accumulate gains in the portfolio and to have a great total return over the long run is to buy healthy dividend-paying stocks. Now, with that being said, I don't exclusively buy dividend-paying stocks. I also own companies like Uber and Amazon, which don't pay a dividend, but I believe have a high potential for a large total return. Now, as my time horizon dwindles down and I have a larger portfolio closer to retirement, then perhaps I will start moving my holdings into higher yielding stocks, but for now, it just does not make any sense to me. In terms of which individual pairs pay the most, we can see here schd and VOO are neck and neck, and then we have Altria Group, United Health, and Target as some of my other substantial pairs. Now, one thing I want to show you guys real quick is that my portfolio is down 1.51% today, but if we jump in and take a look at how the S&P 500 is doing, VOO is down about 1.66%, so we've had a little bit less of a decline today so far. Now, real quick, looking at the S&P 500's heat map on FinViz, you can see how big of a decline we've seen in some of these companies. So Amazon is down 8.36% on the day. Apple is down 1.79%, even though they posted some pretty strong earnings. We even have Nvidia and AMD here down almost 3% each. Now, in my opinion, this is nothing to panic about just yet. If we do see some steeper discounts, then maybe it's time to reevaluate the holdings and dump more money into holdings that seem to be presenting a good opportunity. Now, hopping into my future value calculator, this is where I like to simulate what my portfolio value could potentially look like in the next 10, 20, 30, or even 40 years. And if you guys want to grab a copy for yourself to try out for free, check out my Patreon. I'll leave the link in the description down below as well as the pinned comment. So my starting principle is my current portfolio value. My annual contribution is how much I'm expecting to put in every year going forward, which right now is $12,000 per year. Even though this year so far I am at $18,000, I don't expect that to be the standard every single year. In the past couple of years, I have not invested all the settled funds within my investment account into the market. So what I've been doing this year is kind of doing catch up and investing more than before just to make up for it. My annual dividend yield is my current portfolio yield, which is 1.66%, and then my expected dividend increase and price appreciation can be adjusted to whatever I believe makes the most amount of sense. In terms of expected dividend increase, I think we could put it at a 5% safely, and let's go very conservative today. We have a red day in the market. Maybe the market won't perform as well going forward, so let's change this down to 8.5%. So after 10 years, my portfolio value will be $317,000 and my dividend each year will be $3,700 or a total of $23,700 worth of dividend income earned by then, which will all be reinvested back into the portfolio. Now, where this really starts picking up is year 30 and 40, but let's take a look at year 20. At that point, it would be almost a $1 million portfolio, which is pretty substantial. And if we move to year 30, you can see right here would be a $2.5 million portfolio. Now, depending on your time frame, 30 years may not be realistic for you, and that's completely understandable. Make sure you play around with these numbers here like annual contribution and your expected price appreciation to see what might be a reasonable number for you. Now, if you somehow do have 40 years to wait for this investment account to grow, then we can go right there and you can see how substantial it will become by that point, an over $6 million portfolio. So if you do want to try this future value calculator out for yourself for free, check out the link to my Patreon. So in terms of dividends for the month, I only received 2 dividends actually. One was from VOO and one was from Altria Group, ticker symbol MO, but they were still pretty substantial because of how high of a yield MO has and how large of a position VOO is for me. So on the 2nd of July, I received $59 from VOO, which I believe is the largest dividend I've ever received from them, which makes sense. I've been investing weekly into the ETF, and that was reinvested back to get 0.104 shares at a price of $5.67 per share. Then a couple of days later on the 10th, I received $26.08 from Altria Group, and that was reinvested to get back almost half a share of Altria Group at $57.57 per share. Now, just for the sake of transparency, here are all my buys for the month, and if you guys have made it this far into the video and are enjoying it so far, please leave a like. So I invest weekly into schd and VOO. It's part of my investing plan for 2025, and right now I'm putting $100 per week into VOO, and I'm buying 1 share of schd every single week, as you can see right here. Now, I was not planning on buying any individual stocks this month. I've been trying to be a little more disciplined about it because of how heavily I already invested for the year, but United Health was presenting a pretty good opportunity in my opinion at $250 per share, and now it's actually trading even lower than that. So I bought on the 31st of July 2 shares of United Health for $250 per share, and that was a $500 total order. And now that the stock is dipping, I may consider adding even more into the position over the next couple weeks. Now, I will keep you guys updated. It's hard to tell where the bottom with this company might be. It could continue dropping over the next couple months substantially, but right now it's presenting a fairly good risk reward in my opinion. The starting dividend yield is very high, and the current price to earnings ratio is not very demanding at about a 10 PE, but on a forward-looking basis, it might be a little bit worse than that depending on how their earnings shape up over the next year or two. Now, taking a look at my portfolio holdings section, during these videos, I do like to highlight the holdings that did pay me dividends for the month. So in that case, we have Altria Group and VOO, and we can take a look at my position in them right here. So my cost basis, or my average price paid per share, was $43.29 for Altria Group and $382.43 for VOO. And with their current price having appreciated so much at $61.77 and $570.86, my total return, or my unrealized gains, have been pretty solid. Moving to the right, we can see that total return is about 56.75 for VOO and about 68.76 for Altria Group, and I was not expecting these kinds of gains from Altria Group when I originally bought the position. In total, I have purchased 22 shares of Altria Group, and with dividends being reinvested, look how substantial this is at 26.019 shares. Now, when I originally purchased Altria Group, I was not expecting to make such good total returns. I was really hoping that the company's stock price would stay relatively flat, and their high dividend yield, which was close to 9% at the time, would be my appreciation in terms of growth. Now, it is a relatively small position. As you can see right here, the current value is only $1,600, and comparing it to VOO, which is at almost a $20,000 position, it's very tiny. Now for VOO, the dividends are not as substantial and the stock price is pretty high. So because of that, I've only gotten about 1.5 shares from dividend reinvestment, but it's still growing pretty nicely. Looking at the dividend stats, I've earned almost $200 from Altria Group, even though it's only a 2.4% position in my portfolio, and I've earned $713 from VOO as a 30% allocation in my portfolio. Every year going forward, VOO should pay me about $240 per year, and Altria Group should pay me about $100 per year. Now with the yield, you can see that because of the price appreciation, both of these stocks have a much higher yield on cost than their current yield. I was buying Altria Group for about a 9.4% yield on cost, and the current yield is at 6.61%. And for VOO, I bought it at an average of 1.8% for the yield on cost, and then my yield right now is 1.22% for any new share that I buy. Now checking out my dividend calendar, which is one of my favorite sheets within the spreadsheet, you can see this starting to take form. Now that we're at 6 months through the year, basically, you can see all the dividends being distributed throughout the couple quarters that we've had so far. Now the nice thing about this is it does show how the dividend has been growing over time. So for Altria Group, aside from reinvesting those dividends, I actually haven't purchased any more shares of the company since last year. And so it went from $25.14 in January to $25.64 in April, and now $26.08 in July. And that's from those dividends being reinvested and any dividend increases the company might have had. Now for VOO, it does fluctuate more because it's made up of over 500 different companies, but we did get paid $56.56 in March and then $59 in July, and so far we've made $115 off of VOO this year. Now for the month of July, you can see right here that the total amount was $85.08, so significantly smaller than June, but still a pretty substantial month. Now for the monthly breakdown section, it shows a very similar image, but it does not break it down by stock. The main thing you can see right here is my dividends received each month since starting the portfolio and my amount invested each month since starting the portfolio. So in terms of dividend received, like we just covered, it's $85.08. But in terms of investments, I made $1,000 of investments this month, and you can see it's an increase from June where I did not invest into any individual companies. Now the nice thing here is this graph does paint a nice picture about how the dividends have been growing over time, although they have been pretty sporadic throughout the years because of my large positions in those ETFs. They're still growing over time. As always, that does bring us to the end of today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at my portfolio and seeing my dividend income for the month of July. If you did make it all the way to the end of the video, let me know down in the comments below how much you earned from your dividends this month. I would love to hear it. If you haven't yet watched my video from last week where I cover my largest holding and how well it did over its recent earnings report, check out this video right here. And if you want to see the video before that where I talk about my 3 most purchased stocks in the portfolio so far this year, check out the video right here. Remember, the best time to invest was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. I want to thank every single one of you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.